Okay, in this section we're talking about functions and relations. So a relation is any set of ordered pairs. It's a correspondence between domain and range. In other words, a correspondence between x and y. A function is a correspondence between x and y, or domain and range, that relates in such a way that every element of the domain corresponds to exactly one element of the range. So that exactly one statement is very important. In this first example, I give you two relations. Both number 1 and number 2 are relations. That's what a relation looks like. And in this question, I ask you for domain and range. Okay, domain is the set of all x values. So that would be 10, -2, -1, and 5. Let's take that line off. There we go. Range is the set of all y values, So the range would be 4, I already have it written, I don't need to write it twice, 1, and 6. So that would be the domain and range for that particular relation. So the question at the bottom says function with a question mark. So that means, is this a function, yes or no? So the way that I tell is I just write my domain out. I like to write it vertically. And I write my range out. So when I write the range, it's 4 and 1 and 6, and I examine the relationship between the two. So for example, I know that 10, by this ordered pair up here, x value 10 corresponds to y value 4. So that's the relationship depicted there. -2 corresponds to 4, -1 corresponds to 1, and 5 corresponds to 6. Now go back to my definition earlier. For every x, there's exactly one y. So let's look at this relationship. I'll pick a new color. 10 corresponds to 4. So 10 corresponds to exactly one number. 2 corresponds to 4. So 2 goes to exactly one number. And people often say, but the 4 has more than one number. Well, I'm not worried about the 4. I'm only worried about the x values. So the x value 10 goes to one value. The x value 2 goes to one value. The x value 1 goes to one value. And the x value 5 goes to one value. Each of these go to exactly one number. So this is a function. Now, if the 4 is confusing you, you can also try it this way. How many numbers did 10 go to? 1. How many numbers did -2 go to? 1. In other words, how many arrows? 1 arrow. Whoops. Fix that. 1 arrow, 1 arrow, 1 arrow, 1 arrow. They each went to one arrow. So this answer would be yes. Okay, let's try it again with the second one. My domain would be 5 and 5 and 6 and 6. My range would be the y values. 6 is a y value, and 7, 6, and 7. So my domain again is 5 and 6, and my range, let me fix that, sorry. My range is 6 and 7. My first ordered pair says I'm going to take the value 5 and send it to 6. And my second one says I'm going to take the value 5 and send it to 7. And I can stop there. Did 5 go to exactly one number? No. That means it is not a function. So that's how that little part would look. For my online class, one of the questions on your quiz is this a function, yes or no? And that's what you'll go by. I'm taking the function 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. This is the function we're most accustomed to seeing in our algebra classes. For this function, I asked you two different questions. I asked you to find f of 1, and I asked you to find f of 0. I also asked one more. I'm going to put that one on a different slide. Okay, so here's the way you operate on functions. You're going to replace every x with what's in parentheses. So here's how it looks. You have 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. Okay, so I took the x's out. 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. And what I'm going to do is find what's in parentheses. And I'm going to put that value in all of the blank parentheses. And then I just solve it out. So this is 2, and I work on the 1 squared. 1 squared is 1, minus 3 times 1 plus 7. Okay, with your order of operations, it says do exponents first. So that's why this part right here gave me the 1 first. So that would be 2 minus 3 plus 7. That would give me the answer 6. Okay, working on another one there, I want to plug in 0. So that's 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. Zero is what's in parentheses, so that's what I'll put in the x parentheses, 0 and 0. Simplifying it out, that would be 2 times 0 minus 3 times 0 plus 7. 0 minus 0 plus 7 would just give me a value of 7. That's how you would evaluate the functions if you just had regular numbers to plug in. But what if you do have an expression to plug in? Okay, so here's what the problem looks like. Let me double check it, make sure I copied it correctly. Sorry about that. Okay. Now I'm going to evaluate a function just like I have in the prior 2 examples. So this would be 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. Okay, so I take the x's out. Now, what's ever in parentheses is what goes in the missing place. So what's in parentheses this time is an x plus 3. That means x plus 3 goes here, and x plus 3 goes here. It doesn't matter whatever it is in parentheses. That's what goes in the missing holes. Now, you have a little bit of scratch work that you need to do. See this x plus 3 squared? That's where you need to start. So I'm going to go over to the side and do this operation. X plus 3 squared means you write it twice and FOIL it out. So this would be a 2 times x squared plus 6x plus 9 Okay, and so that's how it would look. Now at this point we can go ahead and distribute and clean it up. Okay, so that's what you get when you simplify it all out. Combining your like terms, I've got x's there, so that's a 2x squared all by itself. 12x minus 3x would give me a 9x. Okay, looking at the blue terms, 18 minus 9 would be 9, and 9 plus 7 would be 16. So when I plug an expression into this function, I get an expression back. And that's how that piece would look.